I think when you're under pressure, you perform. Because you know at the end of the month, the landlord is coming for the rent. Where are you going to get it? You'll be chased out. And again, it also determines the kind of audience that you have, or the kind of customers that come to see you. What type of business are you in? Because there are some of the businesses, even when you're starting, you need an office because of their nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can also, today there is also the new core shared spaces, which have made it possible for many small entrepreneurs to find a nice office space which is shared without necessarily having to incur the entire office rent on your own. And there's a shared boardroom, so if you have a meeting, you can share that and pay only for usage. Yeah. So that becomes much more cost effective. Back then it wasn't the case, but now it's much more available.
Is that also another option for recruiting? Because I know with some of those arrangements, you have a central receptionist who takes calls for all the businesses renting that space. Is that also an idea to look into for somebody who's thinking of moving their business from their home to the next level and recruiting?
Yeah, definitely. It is. Nonetheless, most of the people who start businesses, they say the largest percentage in East Africa is first businesses that are, you start informal at the most, then blue collar, then very formalized. So informal businesses may not necessarily think that way, because then they want a kiosk, a stall, and it changes dynamics for them. When they have a stall of their own with their name on top, it changes big time dynamics. So for them, they may not necessarily have shared office space as something of value. But service-oriented businesses can definitely share that, and they would appreciate a receptionist, things like that. Then as the quality of your client changes, the client expects more. So there's a place client one can come, and client one is coming to you because you're cheaper. So if I pay less, I can accommodate this. I don't want to pay more, so I'll come to your dungeon. But when that changes, and now they're buying convenience, now I don't want to come there. Now I want to someone dependable, someone consistent, someone who we can actually give something fundamental in the business to be done by them without them disappointing our flow. Because if they disappoint our clients, the ripple effect and consequences are higher. So then people expect more. People want to see, how organized are you? Let me come to your space. Can you handle my business? Can I depend on you?
Does that go back to the episode we did where we talked about trust? By the way, if you haven't watched that episode, there's a whole series we've done on trust. I think it's what we began with. Just check in the app, you'll be able to find it. Does that kick in at this time where I come into your space, and because I can see you have invested in this space, you've clearly thought it out, it's actually a real business, then I extend trust to you before we even start? Does that factor in?
Obviously, in part of the opportunity, attracting people who can work with you is an environment that you've created. Because everybody who's looking maybe to work wants to work in a place which is comfortable. Some conveniences are there. There is a place they are proud to be. It's safe, accessible. So that environment you've created attracts a certain kind of workforce. And people want to be given an opportunity to also grow themselves, to become better. So certainly having that space does earn you some trust, like you are a real business. If you have this kind of a space, it means when I join you, you'll afford to pay my salary. It means there's opportunity for growth here for me. There's a future in this endeavor. Yeah, you're a trustworthy person if you have a lease with a landlord. Yeah. When you have some customers who know you, so I can trust you when you say you'll pay me my salary, that I can expect it.
Okay. So how do I get to sieve out and know the right person to recruit? Do I begin looking at CVs and papers? You know, I hear organizations today don't bother with those things. I mean, how do I know, first of all, what kind of person I need and where do I find them?
I think the most important thing that you need to look at is character. Character, yes. This thing of recruiting and attracting is it's something that most entrepreneurs do not love, because when you look at most entrepreneurs, I included, we are hope romantics. So we attach hope in everything.
Yes.
So if you don't know exactly what you are looking for, you will not be able to get the right person to position in your business. So the first thing is character, because that one you cannot replace it with anything else. If you hire wrong character, then your business becomes something else for you. Yeah.
There's a saying that says, hire for attitude, not for skill.
Oh. But most of us do it the other way around. We hire for skill.
And the people who go to take their CVs, they're taking their skill.
Yes. Yeah.
But the truth is, if you hire for attitude, not for skill, because skill can be taught.
Yeah.
Attitude can.
Yeah, you could walk into a shopping mall and a shop attendant or someone at the teller serves you with excellence, and you think, I would like this person to work with me. It doesn't matter what she's doing at that point, because you can teach her how to do what you do, but you've seen something in her that's just the right attitude. And if you bring her on board, you believe she can succeed and excel, because she projected that when you first met her. So in identifying, you can get overwhelmed in recruitment, because if you advertise the traditional way, you need to allocate a lot of time to go through that. And a lot of it is phony applications. So you have to sift through all that to get the genuine applicants. And then if you're single-handedly as an entrepreneur going through all that to shortlist, it's a lot of work. You may need expertise, maybe bring a friend along and tell them, why don't you just come and sit along in the panel and just help me to get that other opinion from you as I'm trying to shortlist the people that I could work with. But the worst thing is to pick people based on other considerations. You know, you can pick because I know this person may be related or whatever the case might be. You're likely to make a mistake, and it's harder to. A recruitment mistake is very expensive. It's a very expensive mistake.
Okay. So do you have a mold? Yeah. And then you look for somebody who fits into this mold, or do you look for somebody and you try and mold them?
I think you should have a mold, because the business is the one that will dictate the kind of person that you bring in. In business, you have some roles that needs to be played.
Yeah.
First of all, you need to begin with the end in mind and establish the role. If you don't establish the role first and you bring in the person, most likely you're going to misplace that person. So the position is created first, because what is the function of this position that you're creating? And this position is the one that is going to determine the kind of person you're going to bring in. That's why you need to have the job description, or what exactly this person is coming to do in my business. What contribution are they bringing in my business? So that is the one that determines the kind of person you bring in.
I think having an understanding of the market as you're thinking of recruiting, understanding the market and maybe even going through some salary survey reports would help you to know where to benchmark yourself, so that you don't have a very high expectation, but you're not ready for that yet. So by reading some of those reports, you'll know. So people joining at this level, this is the kind of terms that the market is offering. So can I compete? If not, then I need to go lower, maybe in skill and experience, and develop and grow with this person over time, because my business is such that I'm not yet able to compete with the well-established companies, because there's competition for talent, which is scarce. And so how do you compete? One way is either give flexible terms, or maybe even start with someone who has less experience and is willing to take slightly lower terms and grow with them.
Okay. One common thing I see people do is this is the point at which they bring in a relative. Yeah, they bring in a relative because, man, this guy doesn't have a job. He completed campus or he finished high school. He has nothing he's doing, and the assumption is because we are related by blood, there'll be a good fit and they can't steal from me. I don't know what your thoughts are, or if any of you ever made the mistake of employing
I think bringing in a relative is not a problem as long as they will give you the service that you want, as long as they will abide.
But you know, firing a relative is very hard,
Filing a
especially
relative
when your
is
mother
hard.
starts calling you.
Yes.
For a relative, it's easier now to have someone. The easiest way to go about it is to have a third party. And the third party could be either a relative or someone they respect. And you lay down in front of a witness that this is the intention, but these are the expectations. And it's important for them to know now that if they don't fit the mold, they will go. So when they come, it's not me employing them, it's the institution engaging them. And the institution won't care that they are related.
I think when we differentiate the business with our relationship with you, that makes a lot of sense. Because you are coming in as another employee. And if you don't fulfill what we have agreed on, then no, there are consequences. That is, you need to leave. Of course, there will be repercussions. Yes, yeah.
So you're like a recommendation, you're giving a recommendation to the institution on their behalf. This guy can, but the institution is indifferent.
Because if it's not a relative, usually it's a friend, you know, a good long childhood friend, and sometimes I see a lot of emotions surrounding this kind of a relationship, because either the relative or the friend expects grace and mercy. Yeah, because when the boy wa mine, usijali nitadu, oh, mama atakupigia simu.
It's true. It can be very complex when it's approached the wrong way. It can be very crippling because there are other relationships behind that person that you are avoiding to damage, and that becomes very tricky. So I wouldn't advise people not to work with relatives, but I would advise people to have very clear expectations. If possible, written down. At all costs, write them down, let them have, and let someone else have a copy of what is written down. Because for families, it's a sensitive line. You always have to go to this person who we commonly respect.
And most likely you're going to meet that person in all family meetings. So sometimes it's manipulative. So I think when the expectation is, you're saying, when they are very clear, you are able now to keep accountable this person.
Next time on Clean Money Monday.
I've also seen the other mistake of people who, the side hustle group, where you have an 8 to 5, but you have this great idea and you have some capital you want to pump into this business, and you bring a relative and you allow them to manage the business, but then again, or a friend, and then at the end of it you get disappointed because they didn't deliver, or probably because you were not clear in what your expectations were and what the repercussions were if these expectations are not met.
I think the graveyard of dead business is littered with many of those initiatives like those, where, because it's a default setting is, if I'm starting a moonlighting thing, this person who is my relative obviously has already earned trust, and by default that's where I would go. But then the reason why I say many of them have folded up is because many of the times that person may not even have the competence to do whatever it is this venture you're giving them. You trust them on a personal level, but then they may not have the capability and competence to do it. But where else do you go?
This is Clean Money TV.